Am I normal, or is this normal, are questions that sometimes trouble our days, even more so our nights. Indeed, whether we're in a group setting or lying awake and alone in the middle of the night, we may worry about how much our actions, feelings, thoughts, and traits fail to meet some expected standard. Our underlying fear is that these midnight musings lead us to a tragic epiphany that we aren't normal and that we'll suffer the fate of the unwanted, the rejected, the outcast. What these disquieting introspective moments tell us is that if we unmask the generic public face of the notion of normality, something much more perturbingly equivocal is uncovered. Since our self esteem, and in some cases our very lives, depend on how we interpret and answer the question, Am I normal? It's crucial for our mental health that we don't let normality as a notion tyrannize us, and that instead we adopt a stance of humane skepticism to work out how much the in vogue definition of normality actually serves us. If we are to achieve a degree of humane skepticism about the matter of normality, we have to question the question rather than unthinkingly capitulate to it. Perhaps one of the most effective ways to do this is to see it as symptomatic of widespread concerns, both biological and cultural. In other words, if we view the am I normal issue as a typical, in fact, normal question to ask, then it loses some of its power to frighten us because our asking this question is not an inevitable sign that we're abnormal. We no longer need to stand alone in the dock awaiting the verdict. There are several reasons as to why the issue of normality is a symptom of our fears and can so easily tyrannize us. First of all, and most obviously, practically all of us want to belong, to fit in. We are social creatures who need others for our physical and emotional survival. And so when the stakes are potentially so high, we are wired to monitor how normal we are coming across and to make adjustments. Moreover, when you add to this originally tribal imperative the complexity of modern life, with a multitude of different groups and different expectations you can belong to, coming across as normal requires greater dexterity. It's so easy in this environment to question how normal you are, as there are different, probably competing norms. Another reason, this time more to do with our Western culture, is that we live in a society where there is a gulf between our polished public self-image and our private, sometimes chaotic subjectivity. In a capitalist world where networking and serving customers or bosses is the norm, we are disciplined in covert and less covert ways to fashion a public image of ourselves that is optimistic, agreeable, and pragmatic, as we know on some level that we have to be accessible utilities for others if we are to further our careers or just to keep our jobs. This aspiration to be an accessible utility requires us to try and tame and often disown the richer, freer world of our inner lives. Yet it is a losing battle, as our subjectivity doesn't follow a capitalist genre, since we fail beyond our publicly sanctioned emotions. The resulting tension between our self-image and our inner life gives birth on a regular basis to the am I normal question, and it is a sign of a losing battle that is not a personal failure. Thankfully, it is a battle we should be glad to lose because we reclaim ourselves. One final reason why the am I normal question arises so easily and frightens us so much is that we understandably do need guidelines, principles for action that structure our lives and our societies. And in needing such norms, we're thrown into the arms of definitions. Where there are potential problems is that definitions, as the Socratic dialogues show, aspire to a certain objectivity, and more to the point, a certain universality. So while we tend to like a guiding principle, we often let our desire for order seduce us into adopting a too general definition that is neat for some or most people, but oppressive for others. We need to recognise that when we ask the am I normal question, that definitions with their aspirations for universality often have a contempt for the sanctity of the particular case. And that particular case might just very well be you. Expect them to exclude you some of the time or most of the time, and don't see it as a personal failure. Given these reasons alone, we can see that the am I normal question is often a symptom of biological and cultural imperatives, and that our definitions of norms, despite their seeming austere objectivity, are nevertheless usually laced with power interests. If we are therefore to develop our individuality, reach out in solidarity to others, and cultivate our creativity, we cannot make it our default to just answer the question, as we'll be assuming that what is defined as normal is how we should be. A humane skepticism replaces the quick capitulation not with an equally uncritical contrarian pose, but a reflective examination, as we can ask of any norm, who does this norm serve? To what extent does it serve me, and to what extent does it oppress me? We can also ask more widely, to what extent do I want to fulfill this society's definition of normal? And if you're especially ambitious and discontented, you might even ask, to what extent should these norms be challenged? By carefully questioning norms, we break free from their tyranny. As Neil Postman put it is certainly true that he who holds the power to define is our master, but it is also true that he who holds in mind an alternative definition can never quite be his slave.